Welcome to Success Superstars, episode number 95, with my special guest, Julian Jackson from San Antonio, Texas. Let's talk a little bit about you and get to know you before we get into the CRM discussion.
All right, sounds good.
You've been selling real estate. Actually, you're a mortgage professional prior to that, so between mortgage and real estate, over 13 years.
That's exactly right. Yeah, been doing it for a little while.
Yeah. What's been your key learning in over 13 years of working in this amazing industry?
My key learning is automate everything as quickly as you can. So that's probably the biggest thing. So
I love it. If you go to jpar.com/blog and type in the search word automate, I wrote an article about automate, eliminate, or delegate. You know, automate, eliminate, or delegate. So it sounds like, you and I have a common mindset there.
Yeah, and it matters. A lot of times people try to take on too much, in my opinion, because real estate, I mean, you got to think you're the sales manager, you're the marketing manager, you're the financial manager, you're everything. So you got to figure out how to automate as much as you can so you can focus on what matters.
Yeah, yeah, and I love that kind of automate, eliminate, or delegate, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. Now, you're building a team, and what drove you to build a team? Why are you building a team?
And it literally, exactly like you said, a lot of it has to do with once you realize how much automation can do for you, you realize that you're able to generate a lot more business.
Right.
And at that point, you want to share the wealth. It becomes an issue of, well, I got more than enough leads for myself. How do I, share this pie with everyone else? I never look at it from the standpoint that people are taking a piece of pie from me. You just create a bigger pie and you have more to give.
Yeah,
that's the way I looked at it.
You're coming from a servant leader approach and building a bigger pie.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, as a leader, is there one or two leadership traits or techniques that you are known for?
Yeah, I guess after 20 years in the military, I did serve for a while as an officer most of the time, and one of the biggest things I learned from being an officer in the military is, to me, it's always about people first. And one of the big things I learned was, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, and that was a big difference for me. Once you get that understanding, you can get your teams to do a lot for you because they see that you're there for them and not for yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. So, before we get into the CRM and KV Core, tell us a little bit about your success. You've built an amazing business, and that doesn't happen with a lackluster daily routine. Do you have a fairly disciplined daily routine and approach to the week?
Yeah, you'll find it interesting, but I start my trainings with most of the mentees or my team members. We go through what I call the GPS system. So it's obviously global positioning system, but mine stands for goals, planning, and schedule. So I always talk about like the infomercials. They'll share a bunch of information with you about, how you could look if you do X, Y, Z, like some of the exercise videos. But you got to have a goal, and then they'll show you what the plan looks like on the television, but you won't get that schedule till they send it to you in the mail.
Right.
And if you want to perform, you got to have a schedule. And
right.
So I have, instead of using the time blocking method that most people use, I tell people to schedule everything. So I give them a template all 7 days.
Right.
So at 6 o'clock in the morning, you wake up. I put everything in there from my workout to when I'm washing up, eating, everything I'm going to do personal. Then I put my time in for what I'm going to do for showing, setting appointments, role playing at night, setting up contracts. So my schedule goes from 6 to 10 at night. And in the first year and a half, 2 years, that's what you got to do if you want to have that freedom and flexibility that everybody is dreaming about in real estate. If you think that's going to happen right off the bat, you need to get into a routine first, and then you can start worrying about, the freedom. But yeah, that's pretty much how I set up my daily routine.
Isn't that funny how the discipline and the schedule gives you the freedom? Yeah,
absolutely.
It seems like just the opposite, right? You feel like maybe you might be a prisoner to that, but in fact, it's the path to freedom. So
it is.
Let's move in. Having a CRM and having a system, as you mentioned, to automate, delegate, or eliminate, certainly leads to our discussion on CRMs. And you have been identified as an expert in KV Core, one of our key tools.
Yep.
How did you master KV Core in your CRM, and tell us a little bit about how you learned that, because so many people look at these things and say it's just too overwhelming.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm probably like most. I jumped into it right away and tried to learn everything all at once. But once I did, as I mentioned, it was me and another friend of mine that was looking at KB Core, and we went and pretty much stayed up all night and looked at all the videos. Then
Right.
we got together and compared notes, and we're like, this thing is so robust that there's no way you could master everything. So we narrowed it down to the few tools that we knew we could use right away. And honestly, those have been the same ones we've been using on and on and on. We've never really had to go into every single piece of the platform.
Yeah, so I want to dig into that a little bit deeper. You know, the analogy I used earlier as we were prepping is about, you know, we only use like 3 or 4% of our brain, right? We don't use
Right.
90% of our brain power. And it's the same with these tools. Many of us think we have to have 100% mastery when, in fact, what are the 3 things that you identified that you really wanted to master within KV Core?
Well, the first one is you go into the listings tab, and basically I pick a property, and there's the tab next to the email, and it has the 3 dots. You just push on that, and basically it allows you to post to Facebook, Twitter,
Right.
Pinterest, and Craigslist. And it does it so quickly that within probably 5 minutes, you can post to all these different locations at one time, and you're done. And all I typically do is I pick the median price in a whatever city we're posting in, and I use that number to write the ad for the post. So it's, hey, here's the homes list of homes under 235,000. So I'll go into that tab, use a filter, make sure it's on agency listings, and then that way I know I'm using broker properties, not others.
Right.
And it's a lot easier to just pick, okay, it's 247,000 here in San Antonio. So I pick a list of homes, or I pick a home that's around that price, filter that out, and then I post 1 home a day from the listings. The other tab I go to is basically lead engine, and I post from there. And then you can do squeeze pages. That's primarily what we like to use on Facebook. You can do landing pages. Those are a little bit more complicated. The squeeze pages do a lot better for you if you're just trying to find a daily routine to get something started every single day.
Right.
The final piece is really marketing autopilot. So if you're familiar with those 3, you can pretty much get everything you need done on a daily basis and spend probably no more than 30 minutes a day mastering your marketing and lead generation.
So I heard 3 things, basically, you know, marketing, lead gen, and listing promotion.
Yep. And,
Yep.
and of course the follow-up. So
Yeah, and the follow-up. Now, it also serves as your CRM, so how do your past client campaigns fit into your KV Core routine?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you have the defaulted seller campaigns, defaulted buyer campaigns. So depending on what type of lead generation you do, it'll automatically funnel into one of those campaigns.
Right.
The one thing that you may have to doctor up a little bit is if once you have your clients and you've maybe sold homes, is to add them to a campaign that'll follow up with them.
Right.
Because you obviously at some point want to be working from referrals. And the best way to do that is to stay in their face on a regular basis. I think a lot of times people forget, once you have past clients, don't forget about them.
Right.
Because the system is taking care of getting you the lead originally, but it's a lot easier to get business from people who have worked with you. They know you, like you, trust you, but you got to stay in their face. And if you forget, 2 years goes by and you're like, oh man, I know this person, they're probably is maybe or maybe 3 years or so, they're looking to buy or sell their home, buy a new one and sell the current one. If you haven't been in their face on a regular basis, they're going to forget about you. And so the system can also take care of that too.
For sure. And we know based on independent studies that 90% of consumers say they'll use their agent again, yet only about 20% do, and the difference is all in the follow-up.
Absolutely.
At JPAR, we're rolling out and testing right now a very unique product, both for our agents to stay closer to their past clients and for the consumers to take advantage of something. It's called Redibs. You can check it out at redibs.com, and that's currently in beta test here in Dallas. Now, learning KV Core obviously wasn't easy, but you did it in a couple-week period, and it's because you focused on the 3 things. You found the 3 objectives that you wanted to accomplish, and that's what you focused on.
Absolutely.
Was that the key versus trying to learn it all?
That's exactly it. Yeah, once I kind of saw the big picture, I'm like, this thing can do so much. I mean, if you want to set your website up to, have certain different search functions, or you want to have different tools on there, there's all the widgets you can add. I mean, there's just so many things you can do. If you get caught up in that one area, you're not going to really be generating any business. So to me, it's all about what I call income producing activities. That's basically, first off, you got to generate leads. Without leads, you don't have the lifeblood to your business. And then from there, you want to literally get as many leads coming in as you can so you can start setting appointments. And then from there, you want to go on your presentation and get those signatures. And that's basically how I look at it. So,
love it. Yeah, very focused. And then once you master those things, then you have the freedom to then expand and look at the other tools and widgets and things that you might take advantage of. So, Julian,
exactly.
I learned a couple things from you today. The key thing was focus, the power of focus, breaking things down into simple objectives. What am I trying to accomplish? And then the ability to, automate, delegate, or eliminate.
Absolutely.
And if the audience wants to check out the article I wrote on that, just go to jpar.com/blog and type in the search term automate, and you'll see automate, delegate, or eliminate. Julian, any last-minute words of wisdom for the audience before we wrap up?
Let's see. Well, just like you said, I'll kind of wrap up talking about focus. What I like to believe is typically instead of thinking about things as just a one-time event, you have to think of it as a strategy. So when I set up my calendar for the year, a lot of people talk about like open houses don't work. I'm like, well, if you're only looking at it as a one-time event, you're going to go prove yourself right. But if you think of it as a 12-month experience and you're like, I'm going to do an open house every single month, then, you do one open house and it doesn't work out very well. Well, if you're going to go back the second month and do exactly the same thing, you're actually proving Einstein's definition of insanity. So who would literally have no one show up the first time and not change something the second time? And then if that doesn't work, the third time, the fourth time, if you have a strategy for the whole year, create a routine out of it, you're going to get better every time. And then you learn to master open houses. And so from my perspective, it's more about having a strategy and a routine. And I put together basically an acronym for people that work with me, and it's called BLAST. And it's basically, you want to build your brand. You want to lead generate, appointment setting, signature attainment, and then tracking transactions. So if you think about BLAST and you have a strategy for each one of those, that's basically going to keep you on target for pretty much a year. And I tell people primarily to focus on appointment getting and signature attainment. If you focus on those are the two IPAs. You focus on those, and the other things kind of find an assistant or put those on the back burner until you start bringing in business, then you won't have any problem succeeding.
Absolutely. Blast for your best year ever. Blast for your best year ever. Love that.
Absolutely.
The only thing I might mention is I love to see people, instead of planning for 12 months, plan for 11, because we know there's 4 weeks out of the year that we're going to have vacations, holidays, illness, sickness, family issues, and so the 11th month plan we found has been pretty successful.
Yep. And I totally agree with you. I actually tell people to plan their vacations as part of their plan. So
Yep.
I like to plan one in usually December, and then maybe right around March, right before the busy season, if you can work it in. Definitely plan for one, but try to plan for two, and maybe 2 weeks at a time.
Put it right in the calendar and then build everything around it. So love that. So Julian, I appreciate you coming on today and spending some time with us and sharing your words of wisdom, and thank you for all you do. And we'll see you in San Antonio real soon.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks a lot, Mark.
Take care.